Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What? Today we've got Seb on, who is an events coordinator. Hi, Seb.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks.
Good. Let's jump straight in then. Do you want to tell everyone a bit about what you do?
I am an events coordinator. I work for a company called Jack Petchy. It's a foundation, so it does a lot of charity work, obviously, and it works with young people who have sort of outstanding achievements or have done something outstanding, and it basically awards them and it gives them a sort of a little boost, and it gives them a small amount of money which goes towards something that they can choose to spend on in the school or the community or the club or whatever they're working towards. And I'm on the events team. But obviously events at the moment are quite scarce, so they're all online and they're all done digitally. So I essentially make the videos and sort out the online events.
Okay. And what made you choose to go into events?
Well, to be honest, I graduated with my undergrad and started looking for jobs, but it was that
What was
kind
your
of
undergrad?
So my undergrad was English literature, which is, it's not a very specific thing for what you want to go into afterwards. So I graduated with that and then thought, what do I want to do? I have no idea. Started looking at jobs, got a lot of calls like sales, recruitment kind of thing. Had a couple of interviews for those, realized it wasn't at all what I wanted to do. And then for whatever reason, I just decided to go back to university, do a master's degree in international events management. And I think from then I just sort of decided that's what I wanted to do.
That's quite cool. So the interesting thing, one of the reasons we got you on is because obviously the pandemic hit during your year doing a master's degree. Do you want to run us through sort of how your master's degree started off, and then obviously where the pandemic hit and how things sort of changed for you?
Yeah, it was a bit weird really, because when I started, I thought this is great. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to go into. I know what I want my future to be like. Started doing this events management degree. 6 months later, like after I decided I wanted to do it, COVID comes along, ruins everything, completely destroys the whole event industry. I'm halfway through doing a master's in it. I sort of, didn't really know where it was going to go from then. So I did have to do an event on my course as part of the degree, which we did an immersive Harry Potter movie screening. So we set up a room in university, like Hogwarts, had loads of decorations. We had like floating candles, letters coming out the chimney, keys floating around the room, like in the first movie. But that was sort of just as COVID was starting. So I was right at the beginning. So a month later, we were all in lockdown.
I know Seb, and I know when that event was, and it was the week of lockdown.
Yeah, it was quite crazy, really, because we had this event, and then a week later, we weren't allowed to go outside. So it was a bit odd, really.
That must have been quite scary for you to be doing a master's in an industry that is basically collapsing before your very eyes.
Yeah, no, it was. It absolutely was. And then I had to do my dissertation. I did my dissertation all from home. It's like 15,000 words. Didn't go into university once. Did it all from my bedroom.
Jesus.
Which was a bit unusual, really. And then I finished that, and then obviously had to try and find a job with a master's degree in international events management, which is what I wanted to do, in an industry where I haven't got the experience, and there isn't an industry for it at the moment. So it wasn't the greatest time for me graduating.
With your degree, it's obviously quite a niche thing. What sort of things did you get up to and do? You obviously had a Harry Potter show in which you created. What sort of other subjects did you study?
What, on the modules?
On the course, yeah, some of the modules.
Yeah, so there were some weird ones, really, that are related to events, but also very loose on what you want to write about. So there was things like marketing, there was strategic financial planning, business. There were sort of all these overlapping things, everything that would come into an events role, you could say. And some of them I had no clue about. So I didn't even study something like business or economics at GCSE or A level. And then the first time I'm ever doing it, looking at sort of profit and loss statements, is on a master's degree module.
Oh, wow.
Which was a bit weird. I never had any experience in it. Nothing I've done before was numbers. I've done always sort of like English, drama, philosophy and education, sort of philosophy, like PE kind of stuff like that. So numbers have never really been my thing. And I'm on this course doing a master's module on numbers, statistics and stuff like that. So that was a bit odd.
So I think you handed your dissertation in towards the end of summer,
Yeah.
which was obviously sort of an odd time because we were sort of coming out of COVID, and then we went back in, and then we were coming out, went back in. But obviously you handed your dissertation, you sort of you started looking for jobs. What sort of things were you doing at the time? And what happened for you?
So I got quite lucky, really, in a way that as I finished my dissertation, the hand-in was on a Friday, and I had a contact who managed to get me a part-time job, which started on the Monday, and that was working in London. That was just doing some, it was doing some IT stuff, but sort of very basic IT stuff, sort of moving files from one place to the other. So as soon as I finished, handing my dissertation on the Friday, the Monday I was working, but it was a 3-month contract, and that was in that brief gap where things had opened again. So I sort of thought, oh, I've got quite lucky here. Finished my master's degree, perfect timing. The next week I'm working, but that was a dream that didn't last very long, because my last day there was the day that they announced the lockdown in, was it November, December time?
Yeah, around then, yeah.
And then they announced that, and then I didn't have this job anymore, which they sort of wanted me to stay, but the work that I was doing, I couldn't do from home. I had to be in the office, but I couldn't be in the office because of COVID, and I was only a part-time contract and whatnot. So between November and I think it was May, I was just doing nothing. I was just sort of applying for jobs. I was in that weird phase where you're trying to get a job, but you can't get a job because no one's hiring. And that was not a great time, to be honest.
How did you did you tweak your LinkedIn? Did you do anything else to kind of stand out?
I did all that kind of stuff. I think when I finally got the job that I'm in now, I went back and just deleted something like 30 different CVs off of my computer. Sort of each one was slightly tailored towards different companies, had different bits of information in. But I had so many different tweaks, ways of formatting it. My LinkedIn, I tried to keep up to date, but someone that's got no experience looking for a role in an industry that isn't alive at the time was impossible, really. So I did sort of try everything. I tried getting LinkedIn Premium and sort of messaging people directly that couldn't be messaged. But everywhere just sort of said the same thing and said, thanks, but we're not hiring at the moment. So it did feel like a bit of a dead end at the time. Luckily, we're out of that now. But
what does the kind of future of the events look like coming out of the pandemic, hopefully? Because obviously virtual events have really taken off.
Yeah, they have. They absolutely have. I think the future of events, the brief gap that we had where virtual events were a big thing, I think they did really kick off, because I think at the beginning of COVID, there was something quite exciting about everyone being at home and doing all these things online. I'm not sure if you guys did it, but having like a Friday night Zoom call with all your friends, there's like 12 of you sitting there with a few beers, things like that.
Yeah, it was fun at the beginning.
It was quite exciting. So that sort of transition over to digital events for that period, this like 1.5 year period, it did really take off. And because you couldn't go to live events, people did really enjoy doing the digital events. But I'm sure you can imagine that now that things are starting to open up again, people don't want to be sitting inside, like watching a computer screen of an event that's going on. They want to be going out, which is great. And as for the future of events, I think that it's going to be, if you look at sort of the Euros right now, it's packed. Everyone wants to be outside. Everyone wants to be going to events. Everyone wants to be doing things. So I think it's a booming industry again, because everyone's not been able to do anything for 1.5 years. And now that they can, they just want to be out.
Can you explain to me a little bit more about the events industry as a whole? Because to me, events are maybe, I don't know, corporate events, and maybe something like, a company decides to host maybe a football game or something. But what are events used for? What kind of companies do them? If you could just expand a bit more on what actually the events industry is.
Yeah, so I think I sort of agree with you. Like when you are outside of it looking in, it's sort of quite a small amount of things that happen. But I think whilst I was on my course doing my master's in events, and I found out what everyone else wanted to go into, it sort of exploded into how many different possibilities there are. So like we get the same essay question, for example, and everyone has got a completely different approach on what they're answering. So, a wedding is an event. Someone's got to organize a wedding. Festivals, obviously, football matches, My personal favorite of what I want to go into in the future is esport events. I'm not sure how much you two know about that. I know, Julie, you know quite a bit about it.
That's absolutely exploding, isn't it? Esports.
It's becoming quite huge. And to be honest, COVID has sort of given that a little kick as well, because whilst people have been at home, one thing they've resorted to is they're playing a lot more games. I think Warzone absolutely took off Fortnite because of the lockdowns. People were at home, and when they're at home, they played games. But yeah, events, they're just anything that people meet. I think there was a definition of it on my course. I can't remember exactly what it is right now, but it's something like a group of people, a designated place at a designated time is an event.
Right.
So it could be, meeting your mates down the pub for a couple of beers is an event. If you said we'll be here 7:00, seven of us are going, it's an event. But then you can take it all the way to the other end of the spectrum, the Olympics as an event.
So you obviously got an interview for Jack Petchy to become their events coordinator.
Yeah.
What can you run me through the process of what that involved after you obviously sent your CV off, and what happened there?
Yeah, so I actually didn't apply for the job that they gave me. So I applied for a role which was events, and I think it was events and marketing. So I applied for that. I sent my CV off, but it wasn't a CV application. It was one of those ones where they give you their document and they want you to fill in all the gaps. And I think it took me something like 4 hours to do. It was the longest application out of the 200-300
I
that I sent off.
absolutely hate those.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Those.
I was sitting there and I was thinking, God, I really hope I get this, because I've spent like my whole day filling out this form. So I sent it off, and I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks later, and I was like, I can't believe they haven't even sent me an email to reject me, because everywhere else I was waking up to a new email every day saying thanks, you've been unsuccessful. So I was getting very used to it at this point. So they didn't get back to me at all. And then I think it was a Tuesday. They emailed me and said that job has been filled, but we've now got a job for you, which we want you to interview for on Thursday, which is just for events. It's a part-time contract, 3 days a week for 3 months. So I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll interview for it. So I interviewed on the Thursday. Interview went really well, and they offered me the job on the Monday. So within 6 days, I've gone from not hearing anything back to getting offered the job. It was just a one interview and then a test afterwards. There were 2 different tests. And they said that the reason I got the job is because I just did so well on the test, which was quite lucky, because I found out afterwards that some of the other people that were interviewing had years of experience. And one of the other people that was looking to get the job had something like 3 degrees, but they didn't do as well on the test as me. And the job was very much based on what the test was looking for. So the fact I did well in that is why I got the job.
So what were these tests about? What sort of happened with them? And also, how was the interview? Was it quite a casual interview, formal?
Yeah, it was a nice casual interview. There were 3 people, who is now my boss and my boss's boss. And there was somebody else who was a winner of a Jack Petchy award. And yeah, it was quite a nice casual interview. I think going into any interview, it can be quite nerve-wracking. But as soon as I started, they were sort of like, relax, just nice little chat, get to know you. You can know a bit more about us. So it was a nice informal interview, which I think was quite worked in my favour a little bit. And then the 2 tests afterwards, it was a list. So you get into work the next day. There's 9 things you need to do. Order these in priority of what's most important to the least important, and how you'd go about it, like managing your time. So it's sort of time management test. And the other one was sending out all the invitations to all the award winners. And there were, I think, 9 mistakes on the invitations. And the test was to find the mistakes, but they didn't tell you how many there were. But I found 12. So they put in 9 mistakes, but I found 12. And they said that the fact that I found 3 that weren't even meant to be in there showed that that's exactly what they were looking for. And that's why I got it, sort of based on that.
So what is an average day for somebody working in events? What kind of things are you up to?
Well, I can't speak for live events because I haven't actually got around to doing any of those yet. Because all mine have been on digital so far. Now that we're open up again, it might be a bit different. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm making the videos for all the different boroughs and all the schools that have students from their schools winning the awards. So I sort of, my day sort of differs each day because I have I don't know, a 1 week, 2 week deadline. So I've got 2 weeks to invite the people, find out who's coming, find out why they won their award, send the reasons over to somebody else who does the voice recordings and sort of it says why they won their award. And then I put it all into a big presentation, turn it into a video, upload the video to YouTube via a private link, send that back to the schools with the link and a ticket for each of the award winners. And they log in to YouTube, access the video, and then watch it in the evenings.
You already touched on during that test, you had some being able to spot mistakes and attention to detail. But what would be some other personality traits that you think are crucial for this industry?
I think not panicking is a big one, because I've had days where it's sort of the day of the event and it's happening that evening, and a school will send me an email saying, "Oh, I forgot to tell you the name of this student who's meant to be in it tonight." I'm like, "But I've already sent you the ticket for the link that's been uploaded." And I'm like, this video has already been created. So, you still got two options there. You can kind of panic and think, "Oh, what am I going to do?" Because this student's won their award. They're going to sign into the thing tonight to watch their video, and they're not going to be in it. Or you can spend a quick hour, dial in, delete the video, amend it, make a new one, upload it, send them the link of the new video. So I think it's sort of, not panicking is definitely a big one, because it happens so often. And also being patient, because I'll get the same question asked to me so many times by different people. And it's such a basic question. Like, if you read the instructions in the first place, you'd know like what the answer is to that. But obviously I can't say that to them. So I'm like, it's so I'm trying to be polite, but being patient and not panicking, I think, staying calm.
Yeah, keeping you calm.
Things go wrong.
I can imagine for any event, no matter how much planning, whether it's a live event as big as, Glastonbury or a Wembley football game, or even to a small event like anything, that day of is going to always be a panic, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, things are going to go wrong. Like that's 100%. I don't think I've done an event yet. So I think I've done maybe 7 working for Jack Petchy, and I don't think I've had a day where on the day I haven't had to sort of work very quickly to make something happen. And even when I did the immersive Harry Potter screening, when I was doing my degree, that was our charity event I mentioned earlier. On the day of the event, I think we started working at 7. The event didn't start until 8 p.m. and I didn't eat or stop or sit down between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. And even when the event was going on, I was on my feet the whole time. Like, I couldn't sit down and relax because I had the event and it was 10:30. And I was like, oh my God, it's done. I've been working for 14, 15 hours and I finally finished. So I think, on the day of the event, things are going to go wrong and you've got to accept it and you've just got to remain calm.
So let's talk a bit about the esports angle you're interested in, because I'm really interested in this. Esports is a massively growing industry. The participation levels in sort of classic sports like football and rugby and outdoors activities are dropping within teenagers and millennials and Gen Zs every year. Is that something that, you're really interested in, sort of developing the whole ecosystem and world of esports and the events that go on? And there's like super fans of particular gamers now, isn't there? Like there was super fans, or there still is, of like Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, this is the future of online gaming, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think the actual economy of esports is growing by something like 30-40% each year. It's just growing more and more. And obviously, as more young people get older and understand and learn what games are about, and as technology is evolving and more stuff is constantly being released and it's been updated, it's only going to get bigger going from here. And I wrote my dissertation on esports versus traditional sports. So it was comparing the attitudes towards people playing football compared to people playing games like League of Legends, for example. So my test that I did was interviewing people that played games against people that didn't play games. and finding out what they thought about playing games as sort of a professional career or as a hobby, or do they think it's a waste of time, or do they think it's like a valuable thing to be doing with your life? And it was very interesting because for the most part, age, gender, and whether they play games or not, most people had the same attitude, whether they had like knowledge of it or not. And that was the stereotype of people playing games is still a bit nerdy, but it's absolutely like a dominating force going forward. So if you're good at it, then go with it. It's the same as football, in my opinion. Because if you play games or you listen to this and you know sort of the professional side of it, there is a lot of talent and a lot of skill and a lot of training and determination that goes into being a professional gamer. It's not, pick up a controller or sit down on a computer and just play a bit and you're going to be good. It's a lot more in depth than that.
I think for me as well is the potential of things like VR and like things like drone racing, and imagine the things and the games and the events you'll be able to put on in the future will be sort of, incredible, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I'm hoping to see at some point is some kind of Esports Olympics. I think that would be amazing.
That'd be very cool. Yeah.
Next Olympics in Paris, the one after Tokyo, they have esports in it. I believe they've got FIFA and a couple of other games that will be competing in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that shows like just how up and coming it is, and I have no doubt that in the future it will have its own complete breakaway and have its own Esports Olympics. It might even be on the 4-year rotation with the Winter Olympics as well.
Winter gaming, yeah. So we like to talk a little bit about average incomes, and we go away and do some research and just see if this sounds right to you.
Yeah.
So apparently the average income for an event planner in the UK is between 23 to 28,000. Does that sound at all right to you?
Yeah. I mean, where I am at the moment, yeah, that does sound right. I think for the average events, then if you look at like the most events that do happen, sort of smaller corporate events, I don't know, people that put on the five-a-side football tournaments for all the schools in Essex or London, for example, there is going to be that is going to be sort of the general salary. But when you look at the bigger things, obviously you can go a lot higher, and if you're doing other things, you can go under or whatnot. But yeah, no, that does sound about right.
I assume if you go into an emerging industry like the esports industry, you make a bit of a name for yourself. There's loads of startups, loads of venture capital in there. I'm sure, you can make a name and make a bit more money.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I like to think so. Give it 10 years, I'll be able to answer that.
And you've obviously had an interesting ride so far into this events industry, but would you still go into the industry knowing everything you know now?
Yeah, definitely. I think it suits my personality, and it suits the sort of way that I like to do things. I quite like sort of being a bit fast paced with my life. I don't really like sitting around too much unless I'm playing games, obviously. So yeah, I think I'd definitely go into it again. I mean, I've only just started, really. I've barely even began. So hopefully I will continue to enjoy it as much as I am now. And I'll be putting on some live events soon.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Seb. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me, guys.
If anyone wanted to reach out, where could they find you on LinkedIn or something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really sort of have a professional Instagram or Twitter like a lot of people do that come on here. But I do have LinkedIn, which is just my name, obviously, Sebastian Dulake. So yeah.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Seb.
Thanks, Seb.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.